Fnatic closed this game out. They guarantee they'll be playing in Hamburg. The former Kings of Europe, 5-time EU LCS champions as an organization, with a team that barely made playoffs, now looking to unseat one of the playoff favorites. Well, help! Knock down the second Nexus turret. Fnatic looking at 3-0 H2K. The former Kings Fnatic are coming for the ground.
A lot of people expect H2K to win against us, and if we beat G2, it means that I guess we are the best team, you know. So.
The former Kings of Europe taking on the current Kings of Europe. A G2 eSports bounce back to take down Fnatic.
I only care if I win or not, so I wouldn't mind going 4th place or 3rd place or 2nd place. Like, for me, that's just losing no matter what. I want to go to MSI, and that's my only purpose right now.
Welcome to Berlin, Germany, where the new and old Kings of Europe are about to clash on the battleground of the spring semi-finals. G2 have reigned over Europe for more than a year, but now Fnatic have their eyes on the EU LCS throne. We saw Reckless earlier, 40 minutes before anyone else, preparing on stage, really wanting to get in the zone for this so important semi-final matchup. The coach Finley of Fnatic also giving some support to the AD carry, speaking to him and making sure that everyone and everything was prepared for the semi-final up versus G2, the reigning Kings, the reigning leaders, having their eye on yet another title. The rest of Fnatic as well shortly ago, just taking to the stage, so as very poised for the semi-final. Good evening, I'm EpicSkillshot supporter, and with me on the analyst desk are Andrew Veriusday, as well as Fnatic Academy's Maurice Amazing Stückenschneider, newly joining the LCS for summer, that is. Congrats on
Thank you.
Winning yesterday. Was a good party or a good celebration?
Yeah, I can still feel it today, so there's none.
Well, you are, of course, a very topical guest today, as you have a lot to say over these two teams. But yesterday, as said, marked the end of the summer promotion tournament. Two teams fought their way into the LCS, while Origin and Giants are now looking towards a new reality in Challengers. First up on Thursday, Misfits Academy. They beat Fnatic Academy to qualify for the EU LCS in a very back-and-forth match.
It was an exciting matchup, that's for sure. Really, one of the players that stood out for me was Cosq, bringing out the Katarina in an extremely important Game 5 and still demonstrating that he had a lot to prove.
Definitely. You guys were all the way in Game 5. It must have been a tough one, but, you know, where praise is due, Cosq managed to make that happen in the end. Yeah,
like definitely. Like Cosq was someone that surprised me too, because it shows a lot of confidence and poise almost, that he just picks melee matchups into ranged matchups where you don't really expect those kind of picks coming in, and I don't know, it just speaks to their credo too, you know. They just fought, and he played to it.
Definitely. Unfortunately for you guys, that meant you had to gear up for that all-important match the next day. And yesterday, Fnatic Academy, you came back to the stage and you beat the Giants 3-0. Although there was sometimes a lull in the mid-game, it looked pretty swimmingly for you guys.
Yeah, it was. It seemed like that throughout the series, they became worse and worse almost, where we had the number and we're actually like able to counterplay whatever they wanted to do. And to me, like, it was also kind of sad to see, because I expected like kind of more of a fight from them. But I'm also happy that that didn't happen, because I didn't want to hear Silver Scrapes again, you know?
Well, we always want to hear Silver Scrapes, so I don't know what you're talking about. But that is our teams for summer then locked in. But turning back to the spring playoffs, with only 1 week left until the finals in Hamburg, here's how the spring champions will be decided. Verius, we've had a pretty interesting playoff run so far.
Yes, we had. We had a surprising reverse sweep come out from Misfits as they were able to take down Splice with the 3-2. Meanwhile, Fnatic, they surprised the world, taking down the favorites H2K in a convincing 3-0. And that's what's led to the expectations of a very exciting best of 5 between G2 and Fnatic today.
That it is. That is our first semi-final up on the plate today. And since 2016, G2 have ruled over European League of Legends and have won the last 2 EU LCS titles. And now their position is threatened more than ever before. They're facing off against Fnatic, who have 5 championships of their own in the trophy case and are looking to get back on top after a rough couple of splits. And there is so much to say about this marquee matchup and these two teams, but we have to start with G2. because a lot of attention is going towards Fnatic in this moment, but these guys have been consistent all split at the top of Group A.
Everyone is extremely excited to see how Fnatic can do up against what is the dominant powerhouse of G2. But we have to remember that these guys are a dominant powerhouse, and they have been for such a long time here in Europe. And while, yes, last week was a very exciting week, G2, they've been steadily preparing. They are ready, and I'm excited to see them bring it to Fnatic today.
Definitely. So the big question here is, Marisa, at the end of the split, they had that dip versus Roccat, lost their first series of the split. How much do you credit that? Is there really a slump going on? Is there something they have to work on, or is it just a blip on the radar?
I'm not quite sure. Like, I think the game against Rocket at least seemed to have been more of a throw than anything. But I think the series against Fnatic, which coincidentally is now the semi-final series too, like actually was a thing where they seemed to be outperformed and had a worse read on the meta almost, where they seem to not know what to do in order to like basically defeat Fnatic's 1-1 and basically teamfight ability, and had to basically come back from a large deficit in the third game especially. So it seemed like that G2 almost like fell behind meta-wise, so I'm excited to see how it's going to pan out today, because obviously they're facing off against one another again.
Well, definitely. They met in week 1 and in week 10, and they were both actually close matchups. And that brings us to this one. And Fnatic, well, they had a rough split, struggling to find impressive wins. They actually barely made playoffs, and somehow surprised, I want to say, almost everybody except for the diehard fans by absolutely crushing H2K in that quarterfinal.
You can see that in this graph right here, how dominant they were over H2K in that quarterfinal matchup. And I think that it really resonates to the fact that they've been playing their own style. Fnatic said that we're just looking to punish the mistakes, and while H2K did make a number of mistakes, it allowed Fnatic to thrive, and it allowed some of their individuals to really stand out.
Yeah, we have to speak about Reckless, who's been stepping up tremendously at the end of the split, up versus Ven in what is a fantastic matchup and amazing. Can you speak a bit to Reckless as a person in that team? What does he bring for those guys?
What I've seen of Reckless is that he's neither really a leader nor a follower, so he's kind of in between. And recently he really accepted a role of not quite knowing what he is, so he just focuses on own play and basically tries to focus on like having a team revel around him, where he's doing his own play style and they basically accept it, and they find their way around him and basically try to operate around him, which seems to be working for them.
It is working so far. I also want to turn my attention to the jungle matchup. Trick, 2-time MVP, up versus Broxa. Obviously for you, a very personal matter as Broxa came into the Fnatic lineup. How do you think these two match up?
I think it's actually going to be an interesting matchup. Like, a lot of people think that Trick is really, really good and really controlling, but I think he's always struggled against early game junglers, such as like obviously Broxa is. So I think Broxa is actually the one that is supposed to outperform Trick in this matchup, and not the other way around. So it's up to Trick to basically control Broxa and actually match up against him. If you can't do that, they're going to fall behind, and Broxa's going to create a lead that's then going to be translated into a team lead.
Oh, we'll see how much that influences the matchup. And in general, if we take a step back as we talk about Fnatic finding that one style that works for them, is it good enough to beat a team like G2? Is it durable?
I think that now G2 have had the time to prepare and see what Fnatic is bringing to the table. I think it'll be a lot harder to execute. I think that we're going to see champions being let through that have previously been banned, like the Kennen, because I think that G2 as a team will understand how to deal with it. And I think they will be better equipped compared to what we saw from H2K last week.
All right, and let's bring it to the all-important moments, the predictions. Amazing. How do you think this is going to play out, and what score?
I hope that Fnatic's going to win. I actually do think they're going to win too, because to be fair, like especially with this late like season surge and whatever it is coming in, and like obviously the sense of urgency the veterans kind of have, like especially Soaz, who now played really well in the last playoff series, and like Jessus and Reckless, like that are just outperforming their matchups too. It's actually going to be really interesting to see, because I think 3-2 is realistic because of those veterans and the fact that Caps and Broxa together are actually supposed to be better than Jessus, not
Trick and Perks.
Trick and Perks, doesn't matter. But yeah, like, I think they're supposed to be better, because Caps and Broxa have this youth coming in almost that like Trick and Perks had in the season 6 like spring split, and that's basically like how I would like mirror them almost. So again, like it's up to Trick and Perks to basically to be able to shut down whatever is being thrown at them.
All right, we'll see if that happens. 3-2 Fnatic for Amazing.
3-1 for G2 for me. I think that they've had the time to prepare, and I think that with the experience and dominance that they've exerted over Europe over recent weeks, will demonstrate that G2 are the ones on top.
All right, we will see what happens. G2 and Fnatic, they have one last obstacle on the way to the finals. The battle is about to get underway as we send it over to our casters for game.